This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion, birth control, and contraception. That is today's non-controversial topic. As a listener's request, we actually have a very powerful message from a listener, and so we have decided to cover this issue. We have covered it in previous podcasts, but not necessarily from the angle that we will cover it today. So we will talk about birth control, the benefits, what it is, what it isn't, and whether it is good or bad. And somebody who we continue to evaluate whether he is good or bad, and shockingly is one of the Iranian leaders who has not been killed in the bombings, and so he is still eligible to take over that country, and that is Mr. Steve Carlin.
Yes, that's Ayatollah Steve Carlin to you.
The outfit alone would make me, it's not that the outfit makes me uncomfortable, it's that you wearing the outfit would have a lot of things that just bothered me.
Fair.
You know, of all the people that I know who would make a real solid dictator, you're like last on the list.
Oh.
I know. I don't mean to. Matt could lead a cult. He could definitely be a dictator. Like you hear about, like nobody knew what was going on, but they were out in the woods, and like Matt's the leader. I'm trying to say that as a compliment. It doesn't sound like it. Matt could definitely lead a cult. I don't think you could. I think if you took over Iran, you would have a meeting with your new cabinet and be like, all right, we're gonna like America's gonna be our ally. We're not gonna be nuts anymore. We're not chanting death to America anymore. We need to get the Packer flags up. And then they would overthrow you, and you'd be like pushing. You wouldn't like the food, because all the food in the Middle East is fantastic. I think I like their like diet. It's good. But you're like, you need like fried cheese curds and chicken wings.
And they wouldn't like when I would be like in my Wisconsin accent, like jihad.
Jihad. We're getting rid of the jihad. Jickety wickers. You guys, you clowns. You don't say rascals. I could see you saying you jihadists are a bunch of goobers. Goobers. All right, Heather, since we've already made fun of half the world, Heather is also here. How are you?
I'm well.
Okay, you could definitely be a dictator. Oh, man.
Here I was like, that's a nice compliment to Steve. And
epic
there
proportions.
You go. Oh, you know.
Anything that we need to talk about? Most of the country right now is on spring break. If you're listening to this when the podcast is coming out. And we had a private discussion earlier, but I want to ask you, do Northerners... Is spring break a bigger deal because it's so cold? I always find that, like, we never go to the beach or anything. Like, growing up, people don't go to, like, Florida from Texas for spring break. I mean, college kids do, but families don't really. Our spring weather is nice, but it seems like spring break is the point where the Northerners are angry about their life. They're angry that they live there, and they are going to escape. We've discussed escapism on the podcast before. So we're going to go down to Florida or somewhere warm.
Yeah, a lot of Florida, a lot of Arizona. So yeah, it's a big deal because people just want to find some escape from it before we actually get to spring.
Texans go skiing. I've only went once in my entire life. I went with my best friend's family.
California, Colorado.
Wussy, Angel Fire, New Mexico. Great family-friendly place. Yeah, skiing in New Mexico was great. And I loved it, and I have never been since just because of life circumstances, but I loved skiing on the mountain. I thought it was awesome.
It's so rare to think, well, I mean, for people who don't live there and who don't go skiing often, to me, it's odd to think of skiing in New Mexico. You think of New Mexico as being a desert and hot and all that. Same with Arizona.
But that's because people are stupid. It's just like a geography. There's the Rocky Mountains are in New Mexico, so you can definitely go skiing. Angel Fire
called me stupid, so you should feel better, Steve.
And Angel Fire is a family-friendly, nice place. It's not necessarily just where all the kids go, but I think skiing is awesome. I think it's an awesome vacation. My wife has zero interest, and the idea of taking all of my kids skiing, I would actually rather have my like toenails whipped off by some terrorist organization than do that, because it just sounds absolutely miserable. But taking the teenagers, I think, would be a lot of fun. But we can't really divide up. It's kind of hard. So we've never been, but I have been, and I love it. It's the only vacation you go on where you're going to bed at 8:30 at night.
Because you're just worn out at the end of the day?
Out. I underestimated, because I was 17. So I was like, this is nothing. This isn't football 2 days. But you're just wiped.
I went all the time as a teenager, and I have not been skiing since I was 16 years old. Maybe that would get me over my winter blues.
It probably would. That's the only thing good about the snow, is you can kind of have some fun with it. But
I've never been, but I imagine it takes more muscle groups than you thought you had.
It does. You're just sore. The first 2 days are miserable because you're just using the muscles you never use. But it's so fun, and I think it's probably more fun for Texans because of just the elements. We normally don't have snow. Yeah. So that part's just cool.
I skied irresponsibly, I would say.
What, like drunk?
You're supposed to like you're supposed to slalom down the hill, and I would go down in a squat and I'd gun it as fast as I could down the hill.
Ooh.
And then I decided I would take a jump. And that was a poor choice.
Well, you do the pizza to slow down. The pizza, and I naturally pizza because I'm bow-legged and pigeon-toed, and so I had to it was like a workout just to straighten my skis because it's so unnatural for me. But the pizza was easy because I just relaxed.
All new terms to me.
My feet went. You form almost like a slice of pizza when they teach you in the 30-second.
We call it snow plowing by us, but I guess you guys don't really do snow plows down here.
No.
What's a snow plow?
No.
My brother went skiing and got amnesia. He got hurt so bad. Ooh. I thought amnesia was just from Bugs Bunny cartoons, but
I did too.
It's real.
You can get it?
Yeah, he got it.
Away? Where you just don't remember?
Yeah.
Like because he crashed into something, or
he also took a jump, and it was also a poor decision, and the ski came and whacked him in the face.
Oh my!
So he,
gosh.
on the way in the ambulance to the hospital, he kept asking the same 4 questions in succession, because by the time he got to the 4th one, he didn't remember asking. He's like, that was a short ride. We're like, we've been in the ambulance for an hour and 15 minutes, but his memory just kept resetting.
Gosh, that's
creepy. And this is the problem, because as I said, I loved it and I would go do it again, but I never have.
Right.
And I probably never will, because of that reason of somebody normal listening to that going, I just don't want to have to worry or think about that on vacation.
Yeah.
And the ski trip is a trip. I don't think it's a vacation. And a vacation is where, to me, the biggest decision of the day is what you're eating for lunch.
Sure.
Like, that's a vacation. And worrying about tree stumps and trees, it's exciting and it's a rush and it's fun and I loved it. But as far as like a vacation, I don't want to go skiing. I'd rather go to the beach.
This is how I feel about water skiing, actually. I went once. I thought it was miserable. I didn't do well. Got hit in the head with my water ski, and I was like, it's on my reverse bucket list. It's one of those things I never intended to do.
Water skiing is fun if you can do it. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, tubing is fun.
That is awesome. Yes,
tubing is awesome.
Yeah.
I would drop everything right now and go tubing.
Same.
It's a blast.
Because it's 85 degrees here right now.
It is. So, it's beautiful. Can you kneeboard?
How is it?
I have never done it before.
You would be able to. I'm
okay.
telling you. Yeah. It would. You just start off laying. It's like a mini surfboard.
Okay.
You lay on it. You grab the rope. The boat pulls you out. As the boat's pulling you out, you crawl up and you get on your knees, and then you can slide around behind the boat.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
It's awesome. And there's even usually a little belt that you kind of put over your knees and all that. But you can jump waves. It's much more solid, obviously, and stable than water skiing. The problem with water skiing, I think, is it really took a hit after Jaws 2. Because the girl at the beginning is water skiing, and the wooden boat, and
So people just didn't go after seeing that movie.
No, I remember being a kid, and my grandparents lived on a lake, so we did all the water sports all the time. And then I saw Jaws 2 when I was like 10. And I mean, I'm on the tube and I'm looking behind me for Jaws in the lake.
Oh, no.
In the lake, yeah.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
If I'm honest, I was doing that at like 16, even though I know intellectually there's not of great white shark in Lake Palestine, Texas.
So I've been slowly but surely remedying where I'm lacking on viewing movies. And I watched Jaws. Is Jaws 2 something in the canon that I should be watching?
No.
Okay.
Jaws 2 is you're on a plane. It's after the symposium. You're really tired. You're trying to check out, and you feel like having a beer. That's Jaws 2.
All right.
So it's worth seeing, but not when you use the word canon,
Yes.
which goes back. Maybe you would be a good dictator. No, it's not in the canon. Especially your canon is you are so just desert
Narrow.
that your movie history is so pathetic. You can't waste time.
I'm
on
getting
Jaws
there
2.
slowly but surely.
No, you're like the 700-pound guy that's like, should I trim my eyebrows? And it's like, no. We're not focusing on your eyebrows. We got big problems. So that's where we're at with,
All right.
with movies. But you saw Shawshank.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Top Gun 2. Have you seen Braveheart?
Yes.
I think you did. But some of these you watched on a plane, which is sinful.
Apocalypto I saw.
Very good. Okay, we're intense. Have you seen any Lethal Weapons?
No.
You've seen Die Hard.
No.
Gah!
You still haven't seen Die Hard?
That's rough.
Wow.
Man. Yeah, Jaws 2? Are you nuts? Yeah.
You need to watch Die Hard.
You've seen Tombstone.
Here's my problem. I'll tell you why
That's
I
a
have
no.
not seen. I've seen Unforgiven, not Tombstone.
Okay, that's not good. Castaway.
Yes.
Unforgiven is good, but it's different.
I can tell you, what I think is a valid excuse for not having seen Die Hard is because I am told that it is a Christmas movie, and at Christmas time, we're watching the movies that the kids can watch.
It's not a children's
The
Christmas.
kids can watch Die Hard if
No.
they're old enough. How are they going to encounter the Hans Grubers of their life when they encounter
What is old enough, Sean?
Eastern Europe for Die Hard?
10 plus 13.
You got to fast forward through
15.
a quick part.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. See?
I'll go sexist. 10 if you're a boy.
Okay. Jeez.
11 or 12 if you're a girl. We'll do it like that. Just because the interest may not be there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But Eastern European terrorists taking over the Nakatomi Tower. I mean, when they start to get all their stuff out and you're a 10-year-old boy, you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Don't think that you have to watch it during Christmas, okay? It's
yeah. It wasn't.
Oh.
I believe
watch it regardless of what time of year it is.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie, so I'm in that camp.
We're not going to go into that argument.
I'm on the
watch
board of
it
directors
at any
of it.
point.
However, the best argument, it's like we know the best pro-abortion arguments, but the pro-aborts don't always use it. The best Die Hard's not a Christmas movie argument is that it was not released near Christmas. I believe it was released the first week of August.
This seems like a fatal blow.
It's a tough
I don't know how you. I haven't seen it. I'm now going to watch it, and I don't know how you can overcome this.
Movies back then were not released seasonally. It was much different. I think it's
So like Charlie Brown Christmas came out of the 4th of July, or what are you saying here?
what are you
I don't think
saying?
so.
I don't-
No.
I'm not buying it.
No, most big blockbusters came out at Christmas. For instance, Jaws was supposed to be released the week before Christmas. And because they were so far behind, they delayed it to summer, and Jaws single-handedly invented the summer blockbuster because nobody went to the movies back then during the summer. It's crazy now because that's all we do. But back then, in the beginning, it was not so, as we've heard, because we didn't have the internet. We were actually playing outside and doing stuff, and summers were busy with our family. Now that we are all divorced and don't care about families or children and have the internet, we go to the movies in the summer.
I'm going to watch it.
That's my counter argument to the August release of Die Hard.
it
was a different time, Steve.
I would describe it as not compelling, and I'm going to submit a dubia.
You watch it whenever you want. It's an awesome movie. That's what you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in it's a good movie. Like the score is good, the music is good. It's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
You've seen Back to the Future.
Of course.
Oh.
We just rewatched it. It held up extremely
It
well.
holds up really well. It's pretty amazing. And you watched. There were some. You saw Shawshank. Have you seen Forrest Gump?
Yes. It's been a while.
You didn't like it. You didn't like.
No, I didn't dislike it.
Okay, okay.
I found it sad.
It's sad and it's designed for the boomers, and I don't have an issue with that.
I don't know what it was, but I was gone sometime, and Laura and the older kids watched some movie, and Laura came to the conclusion that the only purpose of it was to include boomers so that boomers could watch boomers on the screen.
It is. That's 100% true.
Okay.
Sometimes you just play to the crowd. Same with Sandlot. That's totally for the boomers. But we love it.
No, that's universal.
That's universal. Last thing, and then I know we need to move on. We don't need to move on. Maybe some don't want us to move on. Maybe some do want us to move on. I lost my train of thought.
Ha! That means we should move on.
Oh, monumental.
Birth control.
Forrest Gump.
No, we were somewhere in. Oh, a pro-life movie that you should watch that is fantastic is Regarding Henry with Harrison Ford.
Okay, I have not even heard of that one.
Me either.
Really, that's why I recommend it to people.
Regarding Henry.
Regarding Henry, great, like teenager up for sure. There's nothing bad in it, but it is a phenomenal movie. I think it's his top 3 best movies. Harrison Ford. Regarding Henry is wonderful and very pro-life. I'll give you a quick. He is a very successful, arrogant lawyer with a bad marriage, and he lives in New York, and he has a cool car and a family and all that. And he's totally full of himself, and he has an accident, and he has to relearn everything, including who he was and who he is.
Okay.
So it's really good.
All right.
Great act. Producer John, who's the guy? Who's the physical therapist guy? What's his name? Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker. He's in it. So, anyways, regarding Henry, I'm surprised we haven't talked about it on the podcast, and the listeners who have seen that movie are for sure in 100% in agreement with me that it's a great movie. So, birth control.
Let's do it.
A letter from a listener. We're calling her Martha. That's
Yes.
not her real name. Why
Correct.
did you just use like a generic New Testament?
What name do you want to use? You can pick.
That's fine.
Hans Gruber.
Mrs. Gruber.
Maybe I should read the letter.
You read the letter. I've talked to.
What's wrong with Martha? That's a fine name.
It's too generic. It's like Bob. Sorry.
That's what we do.
Criticizing your made up names.
We're vanilla and generic on this, and cheesy on this podcast.
I don't think so. I just told Stevie to make a terrible dictator. That's not vanilla.
I want to know what skills I need to improve.
You have a lot of work to do. Okay.
Recently, I learned something that totally devastated me. I'm still crying over it. When I was younger, I was on birth control pills, which I knew prevented pregnancy. However, I just learned how they work, and I'm dying inside. The pill does not prevent the sperm and egg from getting together. It makes the uterus so thin that the fertilized egg, which we would call, side note, the embryo, because it's no longer an egg, the fertilized egg cannot attach. God only knows how many abortions I have caused myself. I pray I was infertile. I know I am forgiven, but how can I forgive myself? I would love if you all would do a section on this in your podcast. Thank you so much. God bless you always for your, God bless you always and pour down his grace upon you.
Well, let's attack first off the worst part of this, which is I know I'm forgiven, but how can I forgive myself? You can't have the first half of that sentence without the second half. So what is actually required in ultimate forgiveness is forgiveness from God, which she most definitely has. Therefore, you forgiving yourself is really forced. I mean, because otherwise you get caught up in pride, like, well, God will forgive me, but I don't forgive me. And I
got higher standards than the Almighty.
I have higher standards, so it's sort of an act of humility, definitely on the easier said than done list.
Yes.
We've all done this with things that we regret of, man, I know God forgives me, but I don't think I should forgive me. There's actually a great Morgan Wallen song on this. Jesus did it that way. Jesus didn't do it that way. Which is on forgiving yourself. So know that. I think that that's a hard thing. And this is a substantive feedback, which is, I mean, I pray that I was infertile. I really want to thank Martha. Sorry for your bad made-up name that Steve gave you.
Maybe that's her middle name, Sean, or her mother's name.
Well, then it's real, and why are we making names up if it's her real name? So, but I'm grateful that she wrote in, because this is the elephant in the room for so many women who are in very similar positions, who I know have a close friend who basically realized the implications of this and then realized they were infertile, and they just thought birth control was working the whole time, and then had to, figure all that out. So you're speaking for a lot of people. So I'm really happy for the feedback and the humility to send this.
This is very common, this line, since you brought it up. I know I'm forgiven by God, but how can I forgive myself? Very, very commonly heard in post-abortion healing ministries.
It is. I would say too, well, for sure with abortion, the difference with this struggle, which is, look, everybody gets on contraception. It's the responsible thing to do in an abortion, is that 95% of the women who have an abortion say, I knew what it was. Yeah. Like I wasn't miffed. And birth control's not like that. I mean, you have your own family encouraging it. Certainly society encourages it. Obviously, medicine encourages it. Religion encourages it. I told you I was in a pro-life meeting, and a leader got up and said, a national leader, and said he believed birth control was a blessing, and wasn't doing it to spark controversy. He was doing it because he actually thought it was a blessing, children were a blessing.
I've been at pro-life banquets where the speaker said that.
Yes. And that I understand, because we've been sold this lie, and many people have been sold a lie, particularly, I know most Catholics are still for contraception, but they ignore the church on it. Mm-hmm. But if you're not Catholic, you've never really, the whole idea that there's a Christian attitude against birth control, that birth control is somehow anti-biblical, is foreign to you. So I do think there's a culpability here, a culpability issue of, don't be so hard on yourself. You bought a lie that you didn't know it was a lie, and everybody around you told you it was true. And the first time you encountered the fact that it may not be true, you realized it and acknowledged the truth of it. So I definitely should be forgiving herself on this. And this is why we do podcasts like this, because this is a deadly lie, and it leads people down this garbage that birth control is somehow stopping the egg or the sperm or whatever. And it's not. It's preventing implantation. That's what it does.
It's deadly. It's deadly physically and spiritually.
This has led, including my father-in-law, this has led a lot of OBGYNs to get out of the birth control prescribing business.
Not enough, but yeah.
Not enough, but come on. It's still, it's a lot. It is, you go back 20 years.
It's hard. It is hard still today to find an OBGYN who...
Not in a major city.
...does not prescribe, who specifically has made it a point not to prescribe birth control or even push it, which but there's still so many
major cities have one, and that was not the case 25 years ago.
Have an OBGYN that doesn't prescribe birth control anymore. But then you think about one OBGYN in a whole big city.
But in Houston, Dr. Brooke Javelko, God love her, who's our doctor, Mary Lisa's doctor, she's got 3 or 4 doctors. They're packed. Yeah. Their facility's gorgeous. They are profitable.
Yeah.
The crazy hospital would probably throw them out on the street in 2 seconds, but they make a lot of money. Yeah. And so they're like, cool, you want to do your weird anti-birth control stuff? Great. All your patients have a kid every year. Yeah. So, you know, it is one of those things, but they do really well. San Diego, Dr. Delgado, they have multiple doctors, same as the guy in Dallas. And I mean, there's just options. And I'm saying that so that we're not like telling people birth control's evil, but you know, there's no option out there. There are options. I think people are way less culpable these days because you have this vibrant sort of Catholic evangelization of birth control being bad, the whole NFP culture, people having larger families. I didn't know any large families when I was in Catholic high school. None. And now they're everywhere.
Wow.
It's very encouraging. And the last point I had on this is that's the religious argument, but you also have the RFK naturalist women, the hippies, who are like, I don't want all the hormones and garbage in my body and all of that, who are anti-birth control. And I know for a lot of these NFP OBGYNs, they've got all the Catholics or evangelicals who are against contraception in one side of the lobby, and then they've got, let's just have fun with it, the pot-smoking, blue-haired naturalist hippies on the other side. And I'm just trying to stereotype as much as possible.
Sure,
during
yeah,
this
sure.
podcast. So, you know, I think 2026 is a little different than it was in 1998.
Yeah, agreed.
You know who I think deserves some credit for that? Obama.
Explain.
I thought you were going to say John Paul II, but
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Evangelion
Obama.
Vitae, yeah, but Obama, let's hear it.
Remember the whole, I mean, obviously he directly doesn't deserve credit, but I think the issue we're talking
Sounds like he does, the way you said it.
The issue we're talking about here specifically is the abortifacient nature of some forms of contraception, which I think the awareness of that really grew with the Health and Human Services mandate. Hobby Lobby, and you had all the different groups that were
Little
saying...
Sisters of the Poor.
Yeah, exactly.
Good one, because that came out because
Yeah.
they said, it's so ridiculous. He's not making you pay for abortions. You just have to pay for contraception. And the Little Sisters of the Poor and everybody else said, no, that is an abortifacient. And
Yeah.
they're like, what's an abortifacient?
And more importantly, they said, keep your ovaries off my rosaries.
Keep your ovaries off my rosaries. They flipped it around. So that's a very good point. Randy Alcorn, who's a great pro-life apologist and a great evangelical author, he's probably known more by our Protestant friends just for his books and his novels than his actual pro-life stuff. But I knew him through his pro-life stuff, and he has a whole teaching on birth control being awful, and he supported it most of his life. And people asked him why he changed, and he said, because I saw that I was wrong.
Science.
It was just science, that it prevents implantation.
So how does it work, Steve?
Oh, yeah, we were talking about the culpability factor, and that may be some consolation to Martha, but if she's thinking of this from the perspective of, I had children who I lost
Sure.
because of this,
Yep.
there's still an element of that that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And so I think it's worth, because I think Martha actually overstates the pro-life case here a little bit. She said, the pill does not prevent the sperm and egg from getting together. It makes the uterus so thin that the fertilized egg cannot attach. Is this true? It's controversial. My answer would be yes and no. And I hope this will provide some comfort to Martha and to others who are in her shoes. According to WebMD, and I want to put that as a source out there so that everybody knows that this is not from Live Action or lifenews.com or somebody who is biased. This is WebMD. Hormonal birth control has 3 mechanisms that prevent birth. The first one is it stops the woman from ovulating, so there's no life lost in that case. The second one is it stops the sperm from reaching the egg. Again, no life lost there. The third is that it is, as Martha says, it thins the lining of the uterus to prevent the newly conceived human being from implanting into the mother's womb. So this truly would be abortifacient. IUDs can work pretty much the same way. But what I want to see here is that if Martha is concerned that every month she was using birth control, she was having an abortion, probably not true.
Right,
Only
right.
if those first 2 mechanisms fail. Now, we don't want to say like, oh, don't worry, the first 2 are contraceptive. You don't need to worry about the third one. That would be going too far in the other direction. But it's unlikely that she has just, numerous or dozens and dozens of children that she's lost as a result of birth control. So I think it's important for us to just functionally describe how it works and
at the same time, psychologically, why it's such torture is you can't get on it and say, well, only the first 2 are going to happen when I take birth control.
Right.
The implantation thing won't happen to me.
Yeah,
You don't know.
There's no way of knowing.
There's no way of knowing.
Nobody knows in any given time, and that's the thing is that I could see, not having experienced that myself, but I could definitely see myself if I were in Martha's shoes, I would be dwelling on this. I would be wondering, and you could spiral downward if, like you said, this is a psychological. This could really spiral downwards if you focus too much on this, and at some point you just have to surrender and say, Lord, if I had any children that were unbeknownst to me, like little souls were lost because of this action, ask for their prayer, ask to see them in heaven someday, and hope that, you're bringing that up to God when you're asking him for forgiveness for that. And you just have to surrender that to have some and pray for peace, because if you could just completely go downwards if you keep dwelling on that.
This is also a modern moral issue that our ancestors just didn't deal with.
Right.
It's like if you went back and you had to explain access to pornography to somebody 500 years ago, like, I don't understand,
Right.
And the idea of regretting taking pills to prevent conception leading to an early dismissal or death of a super tiny baby and having guilt over that, like, that's just the invention of modern technology,
Right.
and modern medicine, that you don't get email, you don't get letters like this, even 100 years ago in 1926. So definitely not 200 years ago. And so it is a modern, this is one of the problems that we've created when we go against the natural law, which I know we're going to get to later. So,
because one other thing I'll say on just the guilt factor is if somebody could nail down and say, Martha, you lost 3 children to the abortifacient nature of the pill, that's obviously horrifying. She would be very sad, all those sorts of things. But it gives you sort of a finality to it. You can you can assign a name to each of those. I think it's the uncertainty in life is so often is the hardest part of it.
It is, but on that note, to her defense, I don't know. None of us really know the full impact of our sins. I mean, the world says it's no big deal. I mean, they would just say no harm, no foul, big deal. But we really don't know until our judgment day the full impact of our deeds or our sins. And so, and in this, you could easily argue what she was doing wasn't even a sin because she had no knowledge of it, But her actions, if she wants to put it that way, like, what did
Still have the effects.
What did I do? Like, she doesn't know the impact of using birth control all those years, and most of us don't know really the gravity of the things we've done that are really bad. So, I don't know. Just wanted to point that out.
Yep.
Well, I think it's worth getting back to a question we asked a moment ago, which is the abortifacient nature of hormonal birth control and some mechanical forms of birth control. How come nobody knows about this? And maybe some more people do now, as we mentioned, but it's still fairly rare. And it comes back to a deliberate strategy on the part of those who are the architects of the sexual revolution. We've got a document called A Declaration by Pro-Life Physicians, which was published by the American Life League. And it says, the architects of the sexual revolution knew that people would not accept contraception if they knew that it involved killing their children. So you've got Harvard University Dr. Robert Kistner, who said, our efforts to control population growth should not lead to mass guilt about methodology. It would be tragic if an effective post-coital pill or long-term progestational agent were declared illegal because of its abortifacient effects. Well, you gotta worry about the population. We got overpopulation. We gotta cull the herd a little bit. Let's not get too worried about the methods that we're using.
Wow.
When can I go on? Can I go on my rant now? In this
about me saying post-coital, because I'm pretty sure you're not gonna be happy about that.
Do you want to reread that one, Sean?
No. Yeah, I won't reread that. But well, I'll read the next one. So then Planned Parenthood Medical Director, Dr. Mary Calderon. This is 1962. If it turns out that these intrauterine. I knew it had something to do with uterus, and that made me nervous.
Uteri?
Yes, just stop. Devices operate as abortifacients. Not only the Catholic Church will be against them, but Protestant churches as well. Hey, a little shout out. That was disrespectful, by the way, to our Protestant brethren. But it was also, a shout out like even the Protestants are going to hate us. Which is great. This is all true. But going back to the population thing, and I'll keep this very short. This is what infuriates me of this garbage that we went through in the 60s and 70s that we're paying for now. Okay? That we're in a population crisis, take pills, get abortion. 40 years later, We're complaining about all the Muslims and the mass immigration and the Muslim takeover, and that they don't need to, that they've invaded from within and all of this. And it's inevitable what's happened in Europe and what's happened. The reason Muslims can take over all these countries, including New York City now, is they have children and we didn't. And that's just, it is a Steve and I were talking about this in the truck earlier, but this is a mathematical problem. Doesn't mean everybody's called to have 12 kids, not at all. But the reality is when you look at the demographics and we introduced the birth control pill and abortion, it destroyed our population. And so all these people that rant about you go to the mall and it's all Muslim, well, they had kids. You didn't have any kids. And we can harp on the white people, but Black America is much worse, as we know, because they make up, 40% of all the abortions. But the whole notion that Muslims are taking over our world, yeah, and they told us they were going to do this.
I was going to say they're
by the way,
pretty public about that.
Right. And they know they're not on contraception, and they don't believe in assisted suicide, and they don't believe in abortion. So they are living and creating more lives. And I just think that's the biggest elephant in the room in the West, is that particularly, it's just ironic to have like a good old boy conservative with one kid or no kids ranting about all the Muslims. And it's like, you don't have any kids, so
that's a good point.
Yeah. That's my little, sort of harping on the overpopulation crowd ruining our country rant. So this is interesting because they're directly saying, look, it's an abortifacient. We all know that. That's the methodology. Very nice word. Yeah. Nice methodology of how we get rid of all the Jews. But the methodology of it is that it's an abortifacient. That's kind of nuts. So we can't tell people. Even the Protestants will be against us. That's a shout out to you, John the Baptist, as a Protestant. You're not against, but even producer John is going to be against us. So yeah, I think that like all things that become culturally like this is good, everybody needs to get on it. You sort of have to hide some of the language.
Yeah, so that's what they did. They realized, gosh, the Catholics will be against us, the Protestants will be against us, everybody's going to be against birth control. So they just decided to change the language. This is also from that Declaration of Pro-Life Physicians.
But the reason they said not only the Catholic Church will be against them is because the church's basis wasn't on it being an abortifacient. It was on natural law, that you're not open to life.
Correct.
And to use, artificial means to manipulate your cycle so that you don't have children is 100% against God's law and just unnatural. Like you take pills so you don't have children, which no other species would do.
So here's how they dealt with it. In 1959, Swedish researcher Bent Boving. If you don't like the name Martha, Bent, that's a bad name.
Hail Bent.
Is that short? Like, is he Benton? Like, is
I don't know.
Short?
It's Swedish, so maybe it's just a European name. But
oh yeah, they're all weird.
Bent, not Brent. Bent. Bent Boving told a Planned Parenthood Population Council symposium that the birth control movement could get around the abortifacient nature of contraception by a, quote, habit of speech. In other words, defining conception as implantation rather than fertilization. So, well, life begins at conception. What if we just said it began at implantation?
And we know Bent Boving is just upset because he got picked on throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school for sure with a name like that.
Yeah,
for different reasons.
Stuff him in the locker.
Yeah. Shut up, Bent. Nobody listens to you. So, yeah. So he's angry and defining conception as implantation rather than fertilization, which you loved the sample ballot that I sent you in Texas, where Texas recently voted that it is Texas law that life begins at fertilization.
Yeah, baby.
And we officially banned Sharia law in Texas.
Yes.
Our voter ballot, like if any of you want to see the propositions that we recently voted on in the Texas primary, just to put yourself in a good mood and just put it on your fridge, like next to the 10 Commandments, email us and we will send it to you. It will definitely put you in a good mood.
Bent, by the way, is short for bent.
Bengt?
BENGT in the Swedish.
Oh, so
name.
he kind of wanted to he wanted to spew all of his stuff in England, so he kind of put a little dropped
the G out, dropped
so
the
he's
G.
yeah, I see what happened with old Bent.
But on the topic, because some people may be confused, because you specifically said, Steve, or I don't remember which one of you read it, that the definition of conception changed. And that might confuse people because you might be thinking, well, I thought it was the definition of pregnancy. But the thing is that it was always understood up until that point that conception automatically meant pregnancy. So yes, the definition of pregnancy did change. We still recognize and understand scientifically that conception means the moment that the sperm and the egg come together. But in case people are wondering about that.
Yeah, so 5 years later, after Bent makes the Bent Proclamation, as we'll call it.
This is a big one.
1964, Dr. Samuel Wishick said that acceptance or rejection of birth control would depend on whether it causes an early abortion. So, Dr. Christopher Teitze noted that, well, legal and religious authorities typically defer to biologists and medical professionals. So let's just let the doctors redefine their terms. Quote, if a medical consensus develops and is maintained that pregnancy and therefore life begins at implantation, eventually our brethren from the other faculties will listen. I think this was the first example of follow the science.
Yeah.
Follow the science.
Ooh, yes.
Legal and religious authorities defer to biologists and medical professionals. Unbelievable.
I mean, that the ultimate culmination of that was
Fauci.
that, and then the
Bring that up.
Yeah.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a biologist.
Above, yeah.
I'm the Supreme Court justice, the highest court in the land, but I don't know what a woman is. I don't know what a man is. I'll defer to the medical consensus.
I'll defer. The medical consensus
Yeah.
is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, this is why, which we're not getting into the jab and all that, but even though I
Not
just
yet.
said it,
Not yet.
but the eugenics part of medicine brings out the worst in medicine, preventing certain people from being born because we don't want them, or there's something wrong with them, or they're actually better off dead anyways, according to us. And this just, they don't follow the science when they're trying to get rid of people. And this is part of the problem.
The science is following the agenda right here.
The science is following the agenda, and they're trying to manipulate the wording to hide what they're doing. And it's the lie that, Martha fell for and sent us her wonderful email. But it's what so many women fall for because they think, no, this is kind of, it prevents ovulation, or, it stops my cycle, or whatever they think that it does. But the idea that a baby could be conceived and then flushed out is totally foreign. And they knew it in the 50s and 60s. This isn't like, oh, man, I don't know the pill could do that.
Right.
I was really sorry.
Yeah.
No, they knew it and they hid it.
All the key players knew it.
Absolutely.
This is also where we get into, this is pushed on girls now, not just young women, but little girls, because.
But to a lot of people, what we're doing right now is like telling them that vitamin C is bad for them.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, contraception is ingrained.
Because it's medicine
Yeah.
once a girl hits puberty, or to prepare for a girl to hit puberty, which is so disturbing in so many ways. But I mean, when I was a teenager, it was pushed on me to use it for acne.
And shame on
and
the
that's-
Catholic Church for our silence on it, because we
Yeah.
do have the teaching. It's a beautiful teaching. The popes have been very clear. John Paul II was very adamant. Obviously, Paul VI with Humanae Vitae in the 60s. All of it's been very clear from the teaching thing, for the teaching standpoint. But the actual evangelization is
Right.
where everybody gets tight-lipped.
Yep.
Whether it be priests or bishops.
And
I
that's-
can't really say that because I had wonderful priests who always preached against contraception. But I understand most people didn't have that experience, and they would have just gone through going, I had no idea.
Most people didn't, and even if they did on occasion, it was kind of that mindset that we're so secularized that people are like, oh, that's the church kind of just being outdated, and
It's like the church being against
not
divorce.
getting with the times.
It's like,
Yes.
but everybody's divorced and everybody's on contraception,
It's
so you
just
really
not
can't.
not
Yeah.
realistic.
And I've had many priests tell me, you can get up, you can preach against contraception.
Yeah.
And there'll be a little bit of fallout, but nothing major. You can't preach against divorce. People cut your head off.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody, like, it gets a lot deep. Because my circumstances, you don't understand, Father. And, but contraception, I think now is a little easier. But we, as Catholics who have this teaching, the Protestants, I understand. They're like, we've never like questioned whether that was wrong. It wasn't in our teaching. But the Catholics had it and sort of sat on it, I think. And this was the conversion of Scott Hahn to Catholicism.
Yes.
Is they were dealing with contraception, and he was just kind of questioning it. And he's like, he has a funny line where he says the only institution I could find any like anti-contraception based on Christianity was the Catholic Church, and it made total sense. He read everything. He's like, this makes sense. And he was highly anti-Catholic. And his wife's like, that's really weird because they're all a bunch of freaks and Catholicism is totally corrupt. And he literally looked at her and says, every blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, talking about their teaching on contraception being accurate. So, I want to curse some of our Catholics because we have not done a good job of that over the last 40 years, and people want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
all this culminates in 1965. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology redefined conception as, quote, the implantation of the fertilized ovum. So that's the historical journey. It took only a few years for them to just say, we'll just change the meaning of things, and then people will accept it.
Yeah. And then are we getting into Sosnowski?
Yeah, we need to have people that we quote on this podcast with less difficult names.
Well, Bent was an easy name. We just
That's true.
decided to make fun of it for 5 minutes. And he deserved it.
Yeah, I don't regret that.
What kind of name is Bent? That's not a name.
Time well spent, if you ask me.
Dr. Richard Sosnowski. There you go. Okay, noted that the redefinition was ideological redefinition of conception and therefore pregnancy. It appears to me that the only reason for this was the dilemma produced by the possibility that the intrauterine contraceptive device might function as an abortifacient.
Yeah.
So, in short, we've been lied to.
They knew. And I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, as you know. However, I listen to them more these days because they've been proven on some things. But I'm not a big, they knew it and they lied. I think those people are overall crazy. Producer John's like that. He's a big they guy. They knew. Who's they? You know.
Sounds just like him.
They. I don't trust people with ponytails. I've made that very clear on the podcast. That's right. Now we're projecting. You didn't go to Baylor. Yeah. But on this, it's true.
It is, and that's why we document why we've got all the names and everything, because I had heard for a long time, they changed the definition of pregnancy, they changed the definition of conception, and there was one day where I was like, is this real, or is this like, if you swallow gum, it stays in your intestines for 7 years?
Yeah. I think I still believe that.
Okay.
Anytime I swallow gum, I freak out.
You eat 12 spiders a year in your sleep.
How often do you swallow gum?
I'd say once every 18 years.
Is it while you're tackling your teenage kids?
Oh, yeah. We're not talking about my knee injury. I made the tackle for what it's worth. But yes, when I was a kid, like when I was in high school and I swallowed gum, I was like, dang, it's going to be there for like 6 years.
If you swallow watermelon seeds, a watermelon will grow in your stomach.
Inside of you. Same with the apple. You're gonna have.
These are all untrue.
And then to be funny, I told like Celinda and Mary Kate were like 5 and 6, and they're like, "Daddy, I swallowed the apple seed," and I was like, "Oh no, an apple tree is gonna grow in your stomach," and they melt down.
Of course,
and Mary
they
Lisa's
did.
looking at me like,
"You idiots!
You are the dumbest human being
You
on the
are."
face of the planet." I was like, "I was just kidding. Like, it's a tree. Is it gonna come out of my belly button?" Like the whole thing. It took us like an hour to calm them down.
Oh my gosh! Way to go, Dad.
Oh, dumb. Many dumb moments. It's just dumb. Like the most sensitive little girls on earth.
Sometimes you just can't help yourself, though. I get it.
Yeah. I like doing it to my boys. When Mary Lisa's cutting the little boy's hair, I was like, you heard that story of that kid where his mom accidentally cut off his ear.
Oh gosh.
And everybody at school started calling him Uno because he only had one ear. He's like blood everywhere. And like, I still do it. Like, I do it to Seamus. He's like 16. He's heard the same bit like over and over. his
Oh
entire
my
childhood.
gosh. It's like-
So
When I was little, my dad told me so much nonsense that when they told me that my teeth would fall out and new ones would grow in, I didn't believe them. And so then I lost my first tooth. I was like, did that just happen?
Oh, that's funny.
that's pretty funny that you hear
the
somebody
reverse.
that you're like, my fingernail's never going to grow back. That's great. Okay. This is obviously devastating to women who find out that the abortifacient mechanism of contraception actually happens, and they find out down the road. It's devastating, but it's also hopeful, because we have just countless stories of women that, including that have written into the podcast, that said, I didn't contracept. I decided to get off birth control and we're having a baby, or I'm healthier, or whatever it is, depending on their age, but just they're not worried about that risk. The risk of pregnancy that may give you concern is nowhere near the risk of thinking, have I flushed out 28 babies in the last 5 years? You know, it's just.
I've shared this story before on the podcast, but I think it's worth sharing again. There's a really cool unplanned the movie baby, that happened as a result of the education of about contraception and about Planned Parenthood. And that was one of the actresses from the movie during the filming talked about how she was a client, a patient of Planned Parenthood's. And so now that she's in this movie about Planned Parenthood, it's calling into question, should I still be going to Planned Parenthood? And she was going there for her contraception. So she and her husband talked about it, and her husband said, I don't know why you're going to Planned Parenthood anyway. I don't know why you're on contraception. Don't we want to have kids? And so just being on the set of Unplanned sparked that conversation with her husband. And so from that point on, they decided she was going to get off birth control. And the husband said birth control is not healthy for you anyway. So even he had some sort of inkling that is probably not good in some form or fashion. I don't know if any of that was a spiritual aspect for them right away, but they got off birth control, and about 7 months later, maybe a year later, it was a year later almost, at the premiere of Unplanned in Hollywood, she showed up with a baby bump.
That's so cool.
And it was like, oh, that's an unplanned baby.
It's an unplanned baby. There were a lot of unplanned babies.
It was a planned, unplanned baby.
But the good thing about having these conversations is that it sparks the conversation.
Yeah.
Why don't we want children? Why don't we want more children?
The long-term effects of this, the devastation, because there are sometimes women will have gone through life not ever having any sort of health issues and not ever being on birth control, which can also cause infertility down the line, not just when you're on it. And that's a whole other probably podcast we could do. But, human nature hasn't changed. Women still have a deep desire. Most women still have that deep natural desire to want to be a mother, to want to be pregnant and to give birth to a child, to give life to a child. And they're robbed of that much more so a lot of times on contraception. Now, some women aren't. Some women have been on every form of contraception and still had a bunch of babies. But the effects of infertility on so many women in our country, and now, again, another podcast, why we have the IVF industry exploding is because of this high rates of infertility, and it's really sad. So this is all the more reason why we have to have conversations like this and keep putting this information out there.
It's also, the spiritual factor of it in regards to the sanctity of marriage is the complete giving of self to your husband and wife, them giving all of themselves, that we are willing to risk or go on the journey of creating a baby. And if that's removed through artificial contraception, you're just gone, this is, and Paul VI predicted it, well, then I can kind of have sex with anybody who's on birth control.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not unique to your marriage if it's just this sort of systematic thing where the fruit of the marital act can't actually happen because you've cut it out of the equation. That's not good for the marriage, and it doesn't mean infertile couples don't have good marriages, but it means going in, they weren't like, hey, we want to be infertile. That's very unnatural. And so I think that the marriage part is very, very important. And Paul VI said it will increase promiscuity, it will increase the divorce rate and the adultery rate, and it will increase the abortion rate. Those were his predictions, and everybody was like, that's kind of weird.
Old man in your Vatican tower.
He also said that women would be sexualized more in public, including marketing and advertisements. Thank God that one never came true. But
did he talk about coercion too, the population control aspect of it? Yeah. I can't remember. I feel like that was in there.
It was in there.
Yeah.
Basically, everything that happened was in there. But when he was saying it, what was Humanae Vitae?
1968.
1968. I mean, he was a nut.
This was right when birth control was starting to be pushed widely.
He was an alarmist. You really didn't know. It was the NFL draft is coming up. It was the worst Mel Kiper prediction of who would go in the draft.
And there's some bad ones.
He was just an idiot, and then everything happened exactly the way he said that it would happen. And so, but he's an old celibate man. What does he know? However, there is consolation for those like Martha who fear that their contraception use has killed their own children because, number one, we've talked about the culpability and how this is just kind of part of it. But there's the science part, and then there's the cultural part that I think these women are dealing with, which is, I just can't have another baby, or I don't want kids, or I'm having one and I'm done, one and done, or I'm having two, or whatever it is. That's just societal. Somebody told me that it costs $338,000 to raise a child from conception to 18. This is this random $338,000. They were telling me after I had informed them Mary Lisa was pregnant with number 5.
Oh.
Yeah. This was the first thing out of their mouth. And I said, it's not 337? What's the extra $1,000? I'm just calling BS on this made up number. Because I'm like, maybe it's more. I don't know. Maybe it's way less. Of course it's way less when you actually look at math. Where are we? Are we in Manhattan? Is it $16.95 for a blueberry muffin?
You use a lot of the same things for multiple children at that point. So
here's my hot take. As a father of 8, I think people are shocked at how inexpensive children can be. Now that doesn't mean my kids don't have shoes or whatever, and I'm crazy cult leader, or does it? Steve?
Potato sacks.
But yeah, potatoes. But there's some things that the older kids are expensive. Gas is expensive, driving to school, that kind of stuff. But when they're little, and even kind of in middle school, you can make it expensive, of course, depending on what you are able to do for them. But little kids and babies are not expensive. And we had one who wouldn't breastfeed. Only one kid.
All things being equal, if they don't have major health problems or things like that.
Of course.
I'm just saying that for the person who's listening who might be.
Me too. And
Come on, Sean.
I totally understand that. And your car breaking down, that's expensive. But the actual kid, when people are it's just so expensive, our primary expense with our kids, aside from the medical stuff, I'm leaving all that out. But diapers, that adds up.
Yeah.
You got to have them. We're not doing the cloth stuff, creepy. With respect to people who
I was going to say, there's quite a few that are listening.
I mean, you don't even have to have respect because we did it and it's terrible. It's awful.
I had a feeling that wasn't a good idea and we were never going to do it. And then I heard your story and I'm done. I'm totally done.
Our generation, or just slightly before us, were the first ones that really disposable diapers were widely used.
And we're better for it.
But some people, because of money, don't have that option.
But that's different. But I'm saying we were broke when we had our first 3, and we had 3 in diapers all at once one time, and we were able to you were able to budget to afford diapers, okay? But it wasn't $338,000 for diapers.
My electric bill and water bill during the cloth diaper area was $338,000.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm just saying the
Touché, Steve.
I don't know. So the baby food and all these stuff you add into groceries, it's expensive to feed teenagers. It's not expensive to feed, small kids. And I just think that gets overblown, and it's part of my anti-overpopulation people. They do all this crap where they're like, hey, kids are expensive. And they tell people with a lot of kids that kids are expensive. It's like telling a stockbroker that, buying Tesla at 50% is a good deal. He's like, I know I'm a stockbroker. Like, I actually tell you that. You don't tell me that.
Yeah.
And that's what's always weird is people telling me that kids are expensive. I'm like, they are expensive. Mm-hmm. But I know that. Like, I have a PhD. You don't. You don't have any kids. It's always people without kids.
Yeah.
I hope you can afford them. We can't. We had to kill the 6-year-old and the 13-year-old in 2022 because they were just so expensive. It was terrible. These are just, here's the benefits of saying things like that, Heather. They never say that to another human ever again after that. It's the younger kids who have kids. I'm looking out for you.
Or they never talk to you.
They definitely never talk to me.
Creeped out.
I'm fine with that.
Way too serious.
Definitely fine with that. So, no.
There is consolation. I think we should definitely.
I don't know how I got off on that.
No, I don't either.
I'm trying to encourage people that you can do it.
You can do it.
You can do it.
And you don't have to spend what you think you have to spend a lot of times.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if you're going to try to spoil all your kids, you're always going to be broke. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Yeah. It's not easy, but I always want to encourage young couples of don't let the finance thing scare you.
Right.
And that's no way to live. Like, you can't worry about how to pay for your kids' senior year of college when they're in utero for 4 months. You may need to think about that and set up college savings at $10 a month or whatever you can do whenever they're born and you get their social security number. That's a responsible thing to do. But if you can't do that off the bat, if you're like, they don't have $25,000 saved for college and they're 6 months old, you don't need to worry about those things. You got to plan and do your best. But I just think this scaring people out of, frankly, I've heard the opposite a lot in this job of people who had a lot of money and they said, our biggest regret is not having more kids. Mm-hmm. And they always have the addendum, and we could have afforded them.
Sure.
Had one of our early donors of 40 Days for Life said his biggest regret, because we had the 3 kids right off the bat. And I was like, does he think I'm crazy? Because he had 2 kids. And he said, my biggest regret in life was not having 8, 9, 10 kids. He said, you and your wife, I don't care what you end up doing with your life, you need to have a ton of kids. He's like, I'm 80, and it is miserable for me to think about the lack of kids that I had and he's like, I could afford it. He's the CEO of an oil company, small oil company. And his biggest regret. He was real open about it. And I'll never forget that. But that's the other side of it that we never hear about. You got the lunatics saying you can't afford them. And then you've got people older saying, I could have afforded them.
Yeah.
I just told myself I couldn't, Anyways, I know we've hit that too long probably. But have we gotten into this last section?
Yes.
We've done this. We're done.
We're not done. We kind of were in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, the recap is sort of, is there consolation for women like Martha? Like, yes, as we discussed early on, she probably was not having an abortion every month. So maybe there was a loss of life, but it probably was not the most common scenario of any given cycle. Second, let's say she did lose 1 or more children to the abortifacient nature of contraception. I hope that she'll take comfort from recognizing that she didn't knowingly do it. There's a difference between, I think, knowing and intentionally doing it than, as you said, got duped by it. And then we need to talk also about the Lord's grace and forgiveness. The forgiveness is infinite, and the Lord promises, I make all things new. That's my favorite verse in Scripture. And those children, if she lost some children to contraception, there's hope for a reunion. What is lost
Yes.
is not lost forever.
Yes.
Can't we go bigger than that? I'm going to do I agree with you. I'm going to do a little evangelical Southern Baptist, name it and claim it. Thank you. This is for you, producer John. All of our Baylor jokes. Take it back. Can't we? It's Lent. We believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I believe, and will state it and name it and claim it, that her writing in will result in babies being born. I think this email, and whether it's 500 people that listen to this, or 5,000 over the life of it, or 20,000 over the life of it, we get a lot of downloads when we talk about contraception. I think a baby will be born, multiple babies born, because Martha had the courage to write this in.
Okay, in that case, I want to say.
Oh, now we're people of faith and hope. After I went on the rants about the population nutsos.
To our listeners, podcast at 40daysforlife.com. We want to see the sonogram pictures of the babies that are created as a result of this testimony. I have 2 reading recommendations I want to point out as we close this. We've mentioned several times Pope Paul VI Humanae Vitae, written in 1968.
Very short.
Great encyclical talking about all of these things and predicting all of these things, and sadly they've come true. But really, really good read. And also, there's one that I have recommended on the podcast before by Sue Ellen Browder called Subverted: How I Helped the Sexual Revolution Hijack the Women's Movement. Talks all kinds of stuff about the getting into the history of this and the beginnings of how this all happened.
Yes, very good. And also, we've mentioned natural family planning. There are natural family planning doctors. If you do decide you want to get off contraception, but you want a doctor, or you don't have any idea what natural family planning is, Google it. There's tons of resources.
Also known as fertility awareness-based methods.
Fertility, yes, very good.
The modern version of NFP.
Yeah, the modern version of NFP. But those are good resources. Don't have to be Catholic, Protestant, atheist, naturalist, hippies, purple hair, everybody.
Happened before. We did back in the pre-video era of the podcast. We interviewed Hannah, and we can link to that. Hannah, who emailed us when she was just engaged, and saying, "Hey, I just assumed contraception. All my loved ones are going to think I'm crazy if I don't use it once we're married. Like, what do you think?" So we got on the phone with them, and they welcomed a baby. The appropriate amount of time after marriage, and they've got at least 2 now.
I want to say, just from all the emails and feedback, I don't know if we've ever covered contraception and it not resulted in a baby. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of inevitable. We are naming it and claiming it, and I want to close with a quick Pentecostal story.
I thought an apology toward those named Martha, but
no. I just, as long as it's not a real name, it's fine. It's just, frankly, I think you could have done better on the
somebody's real name.
Yeah, Jasmine, something different. I don't know.
Or Martha's listening.
Yeah, all the Marthas. I love the name Martha. I love Saint Martha. There is a little bit of argument of like, okay, yes, Mary chose the better part.
Yeah.
Like, aren't we gonna have something to eat? I mean, okay. So we got to get things done around here. I'd love to sit at the feet of Jesus too, and I know Mary chose the better part. She's the mother of God, but frankly, we're out of apple juice.
Exactly.
So, all right, I got a Pentecostal friend asked me, "What's the deal with the whole Catholic contraception thing?" I just don't get it. Real honest question, and I said, "Okay, Catholics are useless. Like where we don't tithe." Catholics are cheap. It's really ironic, okay? We don't tithe. Evangelicals smoke us in God having dominion over things, particularly money. Like it's impressive. We need to take lessons from it. It's really impressive. So y'all dominate in this, he is Lord of our money. He is Lord of our home. God, do you want me to live in this neighborhood? Heck, he's Lord of your parking space. God provided it. God's will. God provided all this stuff. You give everything over to him, but he's not Lord of your fertility. Mm-hmm. It's just inconsistent. It makes no sense. Y'all pray for hours and days and weeks and years about who you're supposed to marry and that your marriage is a godly marriage and a biblical marriage. But then you use all this fake stuff to close off the fruit of marriage. It's just inconsistent. And you know what he said? Brother, that's a good point. Ooh, yeah, I got the brother, that's a good point. So, it's just something to think about.
There you go.
I did the reverse psychology where I insulted my religion to win him over. See, producer John understands this. This is what we do to him all day. We insult the Catholic Church, and then we point out how wrong they are. So... a little apologetic. And then there's a pro-life version of that called What to Say When 1 and What to Say When 2. So thank you, Martha, for writing in. And please give us your feedback, agreements, disagreements, criticisms at podcast@40daysforlife.com. And of course, if you hear about a baby being conceived as a result of this podcast, please email us at podcast@40daysforlife.com, and we will share that in the next few months and or years. So thank you, Heather. Thank you, Steve. God bless you, and we will see you next time.